So now I'm going to show you how to boil a ham. The only ingredient we have in this recipe is the ham itself. You can add other ingredients to the poaching liquor, but we're not going to do that at the moment. The only equipment you really need for this recipe as well is a broad-based saucepan that is big enough for you to fit the ham in and cover it with water. In preparation for doing this, I've soaked this ham overnight, and that takes a lot of the excess salt out. It's not necessary to soak it for really 12 hours, but a few hours helps, tipping out the water before you cook it. But if you don't really have time, just rinsing it with cold water will help. So I'm now going to place the ham in the saucepan. Like so. And then I'm going to take it over and fill with cold water so that it covers up to the top of the ham. There we are. That's filled up now. So all you need to do now is cover it with your lid and put the hob onto a high heat. We'll then wait for the water to boil up, and once it starts boiling, you want to reduce it to a simmer. The difference between boiling and simmering is that boiling produces really big bubbles that break the surface of the water, and simmering are only tiny little bubbles, usually around the edge of the liquid. Once you've boiled it, we'll then simmer it for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size of your joint. This one's 1 kilo, so anywhere between an hour and a half will do. The cooking times are not actually that prescriptive for this dish. It's very difficult to overcook. So now we'll just wait for it to come up to the boil. So this has taken about 10 or 15 minutes to bring the water and the ham to the boil. As you can see here, the bubbles are breaking the surface rapidly, and that's what constitutes boiling. So now all I'm going to do is reduce the heat a little bit, and you can see the bubbles die away. And that's a simmer. And what you want to do is simmer this ham joint for about an hour to an hour and a half, like that. You can also add things into the cooking liquor. You can add bay leaves or cloves, but in this case we're just keeping it simple. So now our ham's been boiling for an hour and a half, and we're going to take it out and rest it before we carve it. Turn off the heat. Now as the ham boils, the water level goes down, so just make sure you keep it topped up with water from a boiling kettle. And there's our ham now. Leave that to rest. Now, the water that you've boiled the ham in, you can get rid of, but you can also use it as a stock. Just allow it to cool, skim off any pieces on the top, and you can use that to make a vegetable or a lentil soup. So here we have our boiled ham, which we've taken out of the water and we've allowed it to rest. We've actually allowed it to cool completely because we're going to serve it cold with a simple salad. Alternatively, what you could do is serve it warm. Just make sure you let it rest before you carve it. Or after boiling, you can take it out of the water, place on a roasting tin, pierce the skin with some cloves, put on a little bit of brown sugar and some honey, and roast in the oven for about 20 minutes. That's basically a honey glazed ham. So now, we'll move the ham onto the chopping board. It's important to remember to make sure you use a clean chopping board when you're carving cooked meats. If you don't have more than one chopping board, just make sure you clean it thoroughly if you've had raw meat on the board before. So here we go. We'll just carve a couple of slices from here. So let's take another slice. And there you go, you can see the ham is lovely and cooked all the way through. And it's very moist because we boiled it rather than cooking it in the oven for the hour and a half. So we're going to serve this with a simple salad, which I prepared earlier. Here we are. And we'll just place a couple of slices of ham on the plate. With this, coleslaw would also be nice. So there we have boiled ham with a simple salad.